Thank you. Yeah, when I heard that I should do a presentation here, I was really thinking should I put the research-oriented or more practice-oriented hat on here today, and I selected more practice-oriented. So as I just defended my PhD 2 weeks ago. I did it on social software in distributed settings. Thank you. I'm not officially actually a PhD yet. It takes a couple of days until the administrational procedures get through, so no congratulations, even though it's kind of a confirmed. So. But anyways, yeah, I did my PhD on social software uses in distributed knowledge sharing. I looked at there in the organizational practices, but also in what's going on in the open educational movement. So how teachers are sharing knowledge with each other in these online environments around open education. And we are running a couple of projects on these topics, and I would like to share some views from one of the recent ones that focuses on collaborative practices around open education. Yeah, and just a couple of words. I'm here with my colleague Philip Volkamp, who's also from the same research group. We deal with quite many topics around e-learning. Myself mostly focusing on the social software environments and knowledge management in organizations. But we've had quite many projects lately around the topics, focusing on OER for science education, and especially for schools, primary and secondary. The one that I will be discussing today is open educational ideas and innovations that more looks at mainly at higher education, so how people collaborate on ideas, how they build together educational materials, courses, even MOOCs, e-textbooks and so on. But of course, mostly Boldic OLRO that we are here for, and thanks again. It's been a pleasure, and I think the variety of presentations has been very delightful. Just to see that there's so much focusing on, also on the research perspective, but really on the practice, how learning takes place, on pedagogy, but also on didactics. Today, I'm not focusing too much on the student side. I'm more focusing on the teachers themselves. How can they get more active in online environments, how to build on collaborations, how to make something sustainable. Like we are here today, how to make something that we come together, how we can expand our collaborations even afterwards. Not to always do that. We come here, we form all kinds of great connections, but we never follow up on them. Good examples that I've met, many of the local Latvians just a few months ago in Barcelona, and I didn't know that you would be here. And I think that's the perfect example that we come together, and we already discussed back then in Barcelona that let's do something together, let's collaborate. We didn't initiate that then, so today that's our mission. We'll initiate that later on, maybe during the dinner. That's where Jyväskylä is located. Some northern lights is the city of light. Some might say light pollution, but I think you can still see the sky. That's our university, the information technology faculty, where our department is also located in. But yeah, there has been already discussion today about open educational resources, so I won't go too deeply on the basics around this. But some of the motivating factors for this project has been in our previous attempts when we were with Philip working on this kind of building some services and tools for management education on OER. And what we really wanted to do there is to collect all kinds of materials together in one place. You can still look it up, learning.openscope.net, where you can find harvested contents from all around databases from all around the world. But what we wanted to do there is to enable these collaborations, make people adapt and reuse those materials for their own purposes, and really to use those in their own teaching, in their own institutions. But what we really found out that the collaborative practices don't really succeed, and this reuse isn't taking place on a larger scale. I mean, there are always people who might reuse OER, which actually leads me to a question. How many of you have been actually taking some OER, reusing it for your own teaching? You're raising your hands. A couple of examples. Yeah, it's getting there. I mean, people are getting more aware of what benefits principles is to allow reuse, allow people to get high quality content and use it for themselves. But many things are like, if you browse around OER, what you might find is PowerPoints, Word documents, PDFs, and quite often you can say that they are at best something like explicit knowledge, something that's written there, but it's very hard to know how should you use that in your own context, or what was the original idea behind those PowerPoint slides, what kind of story was there in the background. And that's a big problem when thinking about reuse. When you find somebody else's slides, it's somebody else's signature. It's created somewhere else, and how should you use it? And that was one of our kind of, leading thoughts around this project. And how do we make the collaborations tighter somehow, that we get people to work on it from different contexts to enable this kind of cross-cultural, cross-national collaborations, but even local collaborations. That we get the reuse and adaptations of these materials boosted up, but at the same time forming these collaborations that when we build on these resources together, we exactly know what is meant by them, and that we can both use it. Let's say that I'm teaching social media in Finland, at the same time somebody else is preparing. I know that a colleague around the world was preparing a course for a similar purpose, maybe bachelor level or something like that. Why not put our minds together and think how can we make it more exciting for students? And at the same time we are creating OERs, we are creating networks, collaborations that in the long run will benefit our institution as well. And we have really witnessed many issues like this, that is not invented here syndrome, that people, when they come across materials, they might not know the background of it, and they really think about like, how should I use it, and they end up doing something like this. So they look at the resources, just create their own ones from scratch. And this really isn't really leveraging the benefits, the opportunities that OER gives us. So the kind of conclusion we came when we started writing the proposal is that sharing these complete finished resources in some repository or what or something might not be the solution. So we might want to look at some alternative ways of handling OER development. And this is kind of what this Open Educational Ideas project is about, develop new ways for students and educators to share. Actually, I just received this is quite a new project, lasting for less than a year now. But I just heard from my three partners who are the technology partner that under this link, we just got the collaborative environment for pilots ready. So if you want to have a look on it, if the internet works, go on. It's I think I have it in quite many slides. But what we try to do in this project is try to bring educators together to form these collaborations. But also what we are looking into is not to stop with the educator collaborations, but also similar to what has been discussed here about leveraging the kind of flipped classroom modes, bringing students as also the creators of OER, and to increase the quality of these resources. But also making tighter connections to the industry, to the companies as well, to really make learning somehow beneficial for different parties and to enable those collaborations to work. And what we want to do in this project is facilitate this through an online environment. I mean, it's clear that many research results have previously shown, and it's quite natural even that in an online environment, this kind of networks don't really, they start somewhere else. They don't really form in the online environment. If I just would be contacting some of you online, it's quite unlikely that we would be engaging in like a very heavy collaboration afterwards. It needs this kind of settings to take place, that kind of after dinners where we come get together, where we discuss, where we try to find synergies. And that's when you then take it to an online environment, it's much more likely to succeed as well. And that's what we want to facilitate through this environment. And mostly to build on this reuse and adaptation, the collaborative practices around OER, and to give a kind of theoretical framework also for the OER movement on how to handle this and maybe to increase the amount of reuse and collaborations. So what this project is about is to start early on, from when we are just starting a collaboration, when the ideas, when the resource hasn't really matured, but we are still quite the idea level, and to initiate the collaborations then, to allow something great to emerge, something where like the different parties are engaged. It's not just that you would be giving somebody else's the materials you have created and maybe try to use it in your own context, but to form these collaborations when the need is like when both, like let's say that each of the actors is still in a kind of engaged mode and they still have the ambitions on creating something. So, and to allowing these ideas to flourish and to come to different types of resources, and even to MOOCs or in textbooks or wherever it might go. And what we also want to like somehow tackle in this project is to learn from other domains, similar domains, and try to bring some of the lessons learned and some things that work in different contexts to the OER. And I think there's a lot to learn from the open source, open access, but also on the organizational side, when knowledge sharing has been researched for maybe 20 years, all of these soft issues, how to make teams tighter together, how to make people encourage them to share knowledge with each other. And this is what we want to find out and really somehow dig out during this project. A couple of guiding questions that we have been lately asking ourselves and also within the workshops and interviews that we have conducted is that to which extent educators are actually interested in exploring this kind of collaboration opportunities with their peers around the world or even locally. And is the openness and collaborations more likely to take place when these educators feel something that is called in the literature emotional ownership of the knowledge they create. So when they have been engaging in these collaborations, are they more likely then to feel some kind of a responsibility and let's say interest in developing the OER even further, not just to publish it somewhere, but to make some wider use of it. And what people might be sharing or building their ideas towards is something like what you see listed there. So developing near future courses together with their international colleagues. We have a couple of like exemplary cases in these projects where professors, for example, in Germany were building some courses on innovation and service management. Their peers around the world using social media, different types of networks, also the pupils to get their feedback before the course is launched or anything, just to get like good vibes on what is the state of the art, what should we be handling within the course, what the student expectations are for it, and to build a course even find out some synergies with other institutions if there's some opportunities to run it in parallel in different steps, maybe even somehow share the teaching, not to say burden, but teaching opportunities with it. But many other opportunities as well. We have some pilots as well that are focused more on something like smaller, not so massive books, development on quality in e-learning, and some e-textbooks that are emerging from the ideas that we had in one FCOL conference in Crete a couple of months ago. That was really touching upon. Similar to here, we had people that are interested in quality in education, and that we were thinking about what kind of resources, what kind of collaborations should we be forming around these interested people who were there. And then we came up to think about some MOOCs around the topic, but also some e-textbooks that could be delivered as OERs. So these are some of the examples of how collaboration might form from an early phase. This gets into a long discussion, like what kind of conditions are make this kind of sharing of ideas and collaboration somehow flourish. But this gets easily to a very long list of things. So I just put those here, and you can more or less read it yourself. One thing that I can say, one of my earlier ideas that I present here was to think about the Finnish OER landscape at the moment. I was thinking, should I explain something what's happening in Finland in terms of higher education, but also on primary school level. And it's very clear that if I just summarize some of those thoughts that I had, is that the universities, higher education is still quite closed in many ways. There are a couple of examples of institutions that have made this strategic move already to open up their contents and provide their learning materials as OERs. And there are a couple of examples of MOOCs in Finland as shown in the slides before. But what's happening is that the National Board of Education that somehow coordinates the activities within schools, within primary and secondary, they have been much more active in putting all kinds of policies around OER and putting it in the map already, that the schools really know that OER, this is open, this is really coming and we should be active around it. And it's really taking place that the schools, seem to be much more involved when it comes to OER and this kind of educational collaborations. And I think there might be similar cases in many other countries as well. But one of the main issues is just how open is your organization at the moment, and maybe even in the country, at the ministry level, how it's supported. And what kind of situation do you have? Do you just an input for your course, or do you want to build on networks and the opportunities that you see as in this kind of situation? Trust issues, what kind of people do you trust? Who are you willing to share information with? How big competition is there in your country with different universities? Some thoughts that I've got from some colleagues and people that we were also interviewing was that it's very likely that in higher education, one researcher from Iceland said that they are very willing to make all kinds of collaborations with universities abroad, but they aren't willing to do collaboration like within the universities within the city or nearest cities, because they are somehow fighting for the students to get in. And it's a kind of a sad situation in a way, but it's the reality. And this kind of issues you should take into account. But yeah, to really focus on strategic partnerships, and this is what people want to make out of these collaborations, not to just do OER on the spot, but to make something that's lasts for, let's say, the next 30 years. And how people share their ideas, what kind of mindset do we have when we want to express something? In many cases, it's something informal, so when we are discussing a coffee break or something, we come to ideas and we just juggle around this, bounce around some ideas, and it somehow merges and it somehow comes to an idea. But many people are more structured in the way they want to express their ideas and what they want to share with their colleagues, and there's a big variety in this one. And we want to also kind of support in this online environment that we are creating the variance in the ways people would like to share their ideas and express their thoughts within the collaborative practices. I've got a couple of slides actually. Let's see if I still have time. So if you want to have a look, and if you are willing to do some collaborative, let's just say they're within this afterwards that we are sharing these discussions with, if you see some opportunities or where you want to form some collaborations with the people that are around here, I think we are very willing to support this to the project, and I can also later on discuss with you and kind of showcase some of these features of the environment if you're up for it. But in many, this is just kind of a template for creating a course in a collaborative manner, and what is happening there is that it's kind of a timeline where you can invite your colleagues that are willing to do this. Let's say that somebody is putting kind of a template and the basic idea that, okay, I want to create a course on social media basics for bachelor level. And what we will be doing here is to just form the collaborations, structure it, do all kinds of collaboration with different tools, in different phases, and also bring in our own collaborative environments or authoring environments in different phases. So to leave kind of options for the user to select in which forms he wants to collaborate, but we kind of provide the basic templates and basic tools with some collaborative writing features and conferencing features within the system. But I can show more of this later. And then a couple of last things is to, what I wanted to say is that the pilots start today, and you are welcome to join the collaboration. And Philip, how long have I taken? 20 minutes? This is my last slide of the day. So we are also engaged in this Nordic OER activity. It's very close on this. And what we are doing right now is that we have been running different types of workshops, discussions in all Nordic countries. We did this in Greenland, Iceland, Finland. Yes, we started in Sweden, but we didn't conclude it. But what we want to do actually right now is just to map the current landscape around OER in these countries. We need to understand what activities are taking place in each of the countries, what contextual issues, projects, initiatives are there to support OER take-up, but to try to identify the key barriers within the countries and also to find some clear solutions how to get forwards and do a kind of this mapping exercise. And what we have done there is just to provide different documents where if you see yourself coming from these countries, just type that to your browser, and there are a couple of just boxes where you can express your thoughts on these contextual issues, barrier issues, and also on the solutions that you see yourself. And what we would like to do is that with those who are active in this one, to just do a bit of exercise and write a paper out of it, and you're all welcome to join this one. So if you have some 5 minutes to spare, it would be great if you join this. So I think that's it for me. A lot of stuff in 20 minutes. But yeah, that's.
Thank you very much, Henri.